Welcome back to Action 2 News at 5. Governor Tony Evers and state health officials are applying for a program that would help people manage serious health conditions. The governor and Department of Health Services sending a letter of intent for the Food is Medicine program. The goal is to help people with things like heart disease and diabetes by providing medically tailored meals, groceries, and even some prescriptions. If selected, Wisconsin would be one of only 10 states to receive funding for this 3-year project. Right now, the state provides some nutrition services through Medicaid, but this move would hire a full-time officer to expand those benefits statewide. The final proposal is due in May. If the state receives the green light, recruiting for that new position would begin this summer.